Welcome to week 10 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Neese. And Coach, before we talk about the next one, boy, was that a big win on Friday night against Tipp City. The Indians prevail in a 27-20 divisional match game against Tipp City, which was what some call the rematch from last year's playoff game in week 11. And the Indians really came out and took care of business early on. It really was in control pretty much the whole game, although Tipp City did not go away, and we solidified it there at the end. But the Indians really did had a nice showing there Friday night.
I think we did. I think on both sides of the ball, particularly our offense, I thought we played well. One of the key points was right there in the third quarter, which is always that pivotal quarter. It was a pivotal part of the game last year where, we went, they scored. We went 1-2-3 punt, and all of a sudden we're back on defense again, and we were able to get to stop, and then momentum eventually swung back to our side. And I really thought it was nice to be able to end the game with about 4 or 5 straight first downs and use our 4-minute offense that we were able to solidify that win. So it was good. It was good on offense, defense. I thought the special teams played well. It was a very solid game, and I think we've got a little bit of the previous year out of our minds now, and now we can move on.
Well, we talk about moving on, and we did not talk a lot about last week. As you said, people know what that was. That the game really was playing for a lot of things. One, it was a divisional important. Number one, important for divisional play. Number two, it was also in terms of playoffs. We were 10, they were 9. Helped us move into the playoff spot in the top. Take top 8. We moved into the number 7 spot. So that certainly gave us, propelled us. Our season's not over. We still have some work we need to do. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But I really thought, if you look at our senior leadership, again, Alan Shrub was really good, as was Ben Schmeezing. Offensively, we talked about some good play by our quarterback. And we really did make plays at points of the game that were crucial.
I think they did, and I think probably one of the other big standouts would be our offensive line as a whole. Specifically, Nate Monin. Nate Monin was our big award winner this week. He had 3 of the bomb awards, which means that he had usually we give 1 bomb award out per game, the biggest hit, and Nate ended up and got 3 of them. Alan Shrub had 1, and then in an unprecedented move, we've never given a bomb award to a wide receiver, and Hayden Shrub on our crackback block on a sweep got himself 1 too. So we really thought our guys played physically. I thought one of the comments that the opposing coach made was that their strength and their size really kind of took over on us, and I think that was kind of for us it's a code word of being we want to be more physical, and I think we were at that particular juncture a little bit more physical.
Code word weight room.
Code word weight room.
You talk about Monin, and here's a guy that he was on the coach's show last week, playing with an injury on his shoulder. What a difference he makes, and he plays, and he's playing with pain. Yeah. But he continues to, week in and week out, make plays, and he came out and set the tone against them real early.
He did. There was a couple of times that he's flipping a guy maybe 5 yards downfield. Potsy, our left tackle, had some great blocks. I think both of our tackles, Caden Clark also had really good blocks on the corners. And our interior 3, when you look at Colton Meyer, who is probably having as great a years at center as we've had in a long time, and our 2 all-conference guards, Grunk and Bynum, that's a very formidable offensive line. And I think those guys are gelling. We didn't have a whole lot of assignment mistakes, which is when you think, well, why would anybody have any mistakes in the offensive line when you're looking at a defense that's going to move, that's not lining up exactly the way it's supposed to be, and also move after the ball snapped? It's very easy to get confused, and I thought those guys got all of our schemes right. I thought we only missed 1 scheme on the weak side, the entire night. So it was a good night for offensive line.
You talk about offensive line, there's one thing that I noticed watching was I saw quite a few times throughout the game blue jerseys laying right on top of white jerseys. Yeah. If you talk to Pancake, what award you talk about, there were, we talked in the past about the Applebaum Award. There were probably a few people that could have been up for that award that night.
Oh yeah, definitely. We had some candidates. So Saturday was a very good session for it. So it's good when you come in, you play well, and I think everybody was loose, watched the film, and got out of here with a really good feeling.
Well, Coach, we can talk about it now. I mean, we now are week 10. It is for what many people outside this locker room has been talking about, it is Troy week. It is what this team has done, taking 1 week at a time and talking to our kids. It is very clear. There has not been one of them that has come in my office or anybody's for that matter and said, hey, we can't wait to play this team or that team. And now we can talk about it. This game here means a lot to a lot of people. The 132nd meeting, the most played game in the state of Ohio. Coach, obviously this one means a lot to a lot of different people, but it also is playing for the division title on Friday night.
Yeah, I think that, and that's one of the big things. The big thing is the Piqua-Troy game. When we went through a period for a while where the Piqua-Troy game was the big game. Everybody wanted to know about. People used to say, "Well, I wish I didn't have to go to my game. I'd like to go see a Piqua-Troy game one of these times." And the crowds were always in double figures and so forth and so on. And I think now we're back to that point again where you're playing for a league championship, and the league, and both teams are undefeated coming into the game. It's a 10th game of the season. There's a lot of other things at stake. I'm sure there's going to be a massive crowd here. The GWOC title will be at stake. The Rivals Trophy will be at stake. The Battle of the Miami will be at stake. So we've got a lot of hard work coming up, and that's not even counting, what's the possibilities of the following weeks. That's just merely this week alone. So I think it's important. This is literally like the SEC has their championship game. This is literally, the GWOC North championship game, and what better place to have it here than our stadium?
Well, when we look at the season, and then we look at the overall rivalry series. 132 times they've met. Piqua leads 63, 62, and 6. If you think as many times as they've played, and there's no gap, it's that competitive, it speaks to the rivalry, but it also speaks to how important it is to many generations. But Friday night, it's this generation that will battle for the GWOC North title. You're talking about a team in Troy who was much improved through the previous years. New coaching staffs come in. They've changed the culture. They have done they're big, they're fast, they can move. What can we expect to see from the Trojans here on Friday night?
Well, I think on offense, they're multi-talented. They've got a great run game. They've got a versatile H-back. They've got 3 receivers that are outstanding, and offensive line that can control the line of scrimmage. And with that in mind, I haven't even mentioned then the quarterback, who's back from last year, who was slinging the ball around last year, at a great pace. So they've got a lot of weapons on offense. But the key thing I think that a lot of people always, fail to mention, at times is their defense. And I think their defense is it's not a defense that's like smothering people to shutouts. It's not a defense that blitzes a lot. It's not a defense that's doing this and this and this. It's just a defense at the end of the game. You look over and you go, boy, the other team didn't score a lot of points. They didn't move the ball a lot, and they don't make mistakes on defense. They force you to make mistakes, and it's a very sound defense that blitzes exactly when they should be blitzing, and don't blitz themselves out of position. And like I said, they very rarely get beat over the top, and they just do everything fundamentally well.
When you look at their team on both sides of the ball, they have had a lot of success with teams that are faster, maybe even bigger in some cases, but they stay within themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like on the outside looking.
They don't beat themselves. Yeah, they're not beating themselves. They're staying in it, and not panicking, and deciding that they're going to go deep 25 times, and they're staying in the game, and eventually the other team, as you sit and watch the films, the other team makes the mistake and they capitalize on it.
Well, when you look at the keys for the Friday night, you could probably start with multitude of them. If you were to break it down to 3 keys for the Indians on Friday night, what are those things that we got to lock in on?
I think number one, the turnovers. The turnovers are going to be big because I think we've got to win that turnover battle. I think that's number one, and we've done a great job with our turnovers. So we've got to win that battle. Number two, I think that the special teams are going to be an issue. They're going to be an issue. They've got great returns. We've got, I think, a great kicking game. So I think something's going to have to give there. And then I think 3, it's going to come down to those lines. They've got some big physical guys. We've got some big physical guys. And I think whoever can win that battle and let those perimeter guys get out there and make plays is going to be the team's going to be victorious.
Coach, when we look at our senior class, we've had some conversation about this. Our leadership all year has been fantastic. We ran into some adversity after week 3. We're 1-2. We've rattled 6 straight. That just doesn't happen. Obviously, it has some adjustments that has to be made by our coaches. We've talked about how good our coaching staff has done with our assistants in making those crucial tweaks. But our seniors had to take that plan and embrace it and bring those other guys along. If people say, hey, what's the secret formula? Why are you guys, go from 1-2 now to being 7-2? I don't know that there's any secret other than guys that really embraced the week-to-week concept that you've talked about.
Yeah, it is, and the secret is a bunch of smaller details became a big idea, and the big idea was we're not good enough right now at this point to do anything, but try to worry about next week. And then the following week we got a little bit better, and we said, okay, we can do a little bit more. But it all started off, we just had to stop the slide, and once we stopped the slide, then we worried about, okay, what's going to be our path forward? And then we just continually move forward. And then everybody just kind of liked the idea, hey, we don't have to worry. Why are we worrying about stuff we can't control down the line? Why are we worrying about playoffs? Why are we worrying about, putting pressure on ourselves? Let's worry about winning this week. Let's look at our scouting reports. Let's watch film. Let's just beat this team. Let's be better than that team because we're better. And do the old combination of worry about yourself more than the opponent. And as we do that, it just became habit now. So that's all we know.
Coach, talking about a couple of senior leaders, this week's featured players on the Bill Neese's Coaches Show are 2 players that have really taken 2 different paths. Darian Tipps-Clemons and Anthony Grunkelmeyer, 2 key guys for 2 different reasons. First, let's talk about Darian. Darian obviously fell into tough times into week 2, going in and tearing his ACL, and certainly been sidelined since then. How's that been for you? A, not to, as a coach, to watch him go through that, and B, how his leadership on the sidelines helped our team?
Well, it was tough to see that happen to him on a number of levels. We've kind of been hanging out for a long time and waiting for his senior year. Went through a lot of recruiting with him and that kind of stuff. Had him in class and everything like I do most of these players, and so it was pretty hard to see that happen to him. And then it took a toll on the team itself. Because he was one of the undisputed leaders of the team. I mean, how he went was how the team went, one way or the other. So that was hard, whether or not it be in the weight room or it be in the locker room. So that was a tough one. And then the third thing, obviously, is when you look at it then just as the cold, stark reality, you need 11 people out there. Who's going to be the new 11th guy? And so it took us a while to figure out what we wanted to do defensively. Did we want to change our defense to make up for it, to compensate for it? Did we want to find a person for that spot? It ended up that Craig Hemmert and Mick Karn were candidates for the spot. They both started playing pretty well. So rather than change the defense, we went ahead and just plugged those guys in, and they've been doing an admirable job. They're 2 sophomores that are in there replacing the guy that's going to Michigan State. All right, but we think that their effort and their eagerness and stuff like that, all the intangibles they bring are exactly some of the stuff Darian had when he was a sophomore. So they've done pretty good for us during that time.
We moved to Anthony Grunkelmeyer, who has been another solid part of our offensive line. You talk a lot about the offensive line. There's a lot of pride to that. Those guys in the back can't make plays without holes, and those guys have certainly done a great job all year, led by our senior Anthony Grunkelmeyer.
And Grunk's a second-generation offensive lineman. And you got to remember that I'm old enough that I coached Grunk's dad when I first got out of college, and I was the offensive line coach here for Coach Magneto. So it's really special to be able to coach, his son. And Anthony's just done a great job, throughout this whole year. And the year before, he's been a guy that's came in, has been starting since the first day he walked in, and he's solid. He's solid. The thing about him is he's never too high, he's never too low. He comes in every day and he plays. He plays the same way. He's smart. You can ask him questions, and he can give you answers. And that's surprising because sometimes you go into a game and you ask somebody what happened, and you can get 5 different answers. and thank God we have the huddle sideline where we can go get the real answer to what happens. But Grunk's a real technician of the game, and when he gets out and polls, does things like that, it's vital for us, and he's a leader on and off the field for us.
Well, I do know this. I know our backs are very appreciative of people like him, and he certainly has had a great year, and I know Friday night will be no different. Coach, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this. You talked about the generations that you've coached. You have been a part of a lot of Piqua-Troy games. What does the Piqua-Troy game mean to you as the head football coach here at Piqua?
Well, it means that you have a great responsibility to, and it's not just like you have 7 days, that you have this responsibility for 7 days to put a great product on the field. You, year-round, in the back of your mind, have a responsibility that when the time comes, when your time comes, and everybody in Piqua is at that game and they want to see what you've done, you better have a team that's ready to represent Piqua correctly. And we're fortunate enough that we have players that are very hard workers. We talked about that today. I don't think I've yelled about somebody not working hard this entire year, not once. Now, I've had some problems on occasion with people not focusing, not thinking, and not remembering things, but very rarely that. So I think that what it means to me is it means that I'm very fortunate that I coach at a place that has a rival game that means so much. I mean, everybody's got the rival. And you can look and say, well, when I was in college, I would talk about the rival game and say, well, yeah, we'd get 1,000 people to come to the game. But very rarely are you talking about a rivalry that at times can get 10,000 people at a game, and a rivalry that means so much to these communities dating clear back to the 1890s.
One thing that comes with the rivalry is distractions, potential distractions. You mentioned, and we've talked about the last several weeks, how our team is focused week to week. Well, now we're in the week. But with the week comes other things. Yeah. More people want in your locker room. Mm-hmm. We're selling T-shirts with that Piqua-Troy game. There's a rally downtown. So you and I can just name the Great American Rivalry Series, who highlights the top 50 rivalries in the United States of America. We'll be here Friday night to highlight that game. Everybody wants a piece of this game. How do you as a coach keep that in perspective, not just for yourself and your staff, but for your kids?
Well, it's especially for them. I don't worry about myself, because I just my number one thing is I want to make sure that when Friday night comes that I am rested and I have ate well and I'm ready. We're ready to go, and that's what I tell our players. I say, guys, do what's asked if you can do it, but never sacrifice. Don't sacrifice not being there to get your food in the evenings, and don't sacrifice that you got to stay up late and you're not getting your sleep and you're tired at school, and then you're not getting stuff done at school, and then you're tired at practice. I said, one of the biggest things that you got to deal with here is you got to deal with your own self-health. Your mental health and your physical health. And if you come in dragging butt, Friday night in that game because you tried to please everybody, and in the meantime you didn't get anything accomplished yourself, then that's going to be bad. So the distractions actually are a little good because it keeps your mind off. Sometimes the task, and you don't just sit around and just keep stewing about it. For coaches, it's easy. We go sit in the film room and watch film. But for the players, there's only so much brain work you can do. So I think it's good that we get them out. At first, I didn't buy into it a whole lot. I was thinking, I don't know about all this. But I think as the years go on, I kind of like getting them out, getting them moving. I think they start to feel a little responsibility that, whoa, hey, we just came from a grade school, and there's 200 kids have just informed us that we better win to make them happy. And they go over to this grade school, they go over to this grade school. So I think sometimes they realize the responsibility that comes with this whole deal.
We are very fortunate to live in a community that supports Piqua football, but also Piqua athletics. Mm-hmm. It's important, and the rivalry is certainly one that is storied. That is storied. Coach, it's not even game night.
It's storied. The rivalry is very storied.
It is storied. And we are going to look forward to talking to Tipps-Clemons and we're going to talk to Coach Grunkemeyer here shortly. And I hope by Friday night I have my voice, because it's going to be a doozy on Friday night, the 132nd meeting between Piqua and Troy. Coach Neese, thank you for taking your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Guys, we'll be back to talk to Darian Tipps-Clemons and the Grunk. Welcome to the second half of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, and with us are our senior players, senior tailback and defensive back, Mr. Darian Tipps-Clemons, and our offensive lineman, Anthony Grunkemeyer. Guys, thanks for being here in the Bill Neese's Coaches Show.
Thanks, Bill.
Week 10 and our seasons for both of you have been similar, but yet taken different paths. Darian, before the season comes in, there are a lot of expectations for this football team, a lot of expectations for you coming from last year's team. Off to a great start in week 1. Go to Trotwood in what was probably one of the best matchups in the state of Ohio that week. And the Indians fall, but probably to what was probably even a bigger disappointment was you go down with an unexpected season-ending injury. What's that been like for you? A lot of people have been asking, how's Darian doing throughout the year? That was 8 weeks ago. Still, I'm sure, a disappointment, but how has that been for your standpoint in your senior year?
It's all right. Can't really do anything about it. So just been working to get back at it so I can start lifting again and start walking, running, stuff like that. Just trying to get healthy. So, I mean, not much you can do, just work through it.
One thing that's been noticeable, Darian, is you have been on the sideline every game since then. And in fact, I believe you had surgery the following Friday, and you actually were on the sideline of the Franklin game. It was that important to you. I think that shows a lot about your character and your leadership. Being on the sideline and being with Anthony and your other teammates, what's it been like kind of being that player coach and being that guy getting in their ear and encouraging when they need to? How's that been for you?
It's been good. I learned a lot from it, just sitting back and looking and seeing how things are on the other side of the, what'd you call it, the other side of the ball, not on the field, but on the sidelines. Learned a lot. I like helping people a lot out on the field. People got questions, like the younger guys, or even if Alan or anybody has questions at the running back part, or Mick at linebacker. I mean, I'm quick to help them, because I think it's a good thing to share knowledge that you know, and if they need it, then give it to them.
Well, certainly your presence and really helps them. You can tell that helps their confidence. And Anthony, as a teammate and a classmate of Darian, I'm sure in week 2 you and I know our team was very disappointed and probably hurt more for Darian and Derek Height, who went down that same game, as they were worried about so much losing the game. But how's that been on your end, having to pick up the pieces and moving forward?
Well, it was disappointing because we've been playing football together for a long time. To see him not be able to finish our senior year off together was extremely disappointing. But we knew we had to re-identify ourselves, and it took us a week or 2, but we ended up doing it. He's been really optimistic about everything, and he's always been there for us.
We talk about not being that same team after week 2 for you. This football team does look different than they did 6 weeks ago. The Indians have rattled off 6 straight, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how the roles have changed for people. People have had to maybe go in different positions. We'll use Ben as Schmeezing as an example, had to step in on Darian's spot. Defensively, we've had to move some people. It took a couple weeks to learn those roles and what those roles meant for the team.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Ben does a great job at replacing Darian when he went down, and which is great. Ben was the other outside linebacker, but Craig and Mick, they do a good job at replacing him at the outside linebacker position. It did take a couple weeks to find that and to get better, but Darian helped him along the way, and I think we're doing great now.
Well, the one thing that I think about the senior class, and I think you guys are an exceptional class in a lot of ways, on the field and off the field. And Aaron, you can comment to this too, because I think what I have seen is this senior class embracing the underclassmen. Sometimes, your senior class wants to be the senior class and they want to take all the glory. That's not been the case with this class. They have accepted others. You were talking about Ben and Mick Karn, how they have really kind of embraced them and accepted them as part of the team. One, because obviously they're playing a big part of that, but 2, you see the importance of chemistry, and that chemistry in this locker room is one big key for our success thus far. Aaron?
Yeah. I feel like all the underclassmen, they do great. They practice hard and they go hard during the games. So, I mean, just for like the roles they have to play, I feel like they handle it well, being young guys, and the seniors, everybody, our senior class is just helpful as it is. We don't really take anybody like for less than what they are. We always try to bring out the best in everybody that we practice with and everything. So I think they do a good job with it, and I think we do a good job with it too.
And I think that one game at a time mentality has really been the case this year. No one's looked ahead. No one's talked about the next game since week 3 or 4 when this, what we call change has happened. Grunk, you know, we talk about accepting those young guys. Our team really has molded into those new roles and very well.
Yeah, and we have taken it 1 week at a time. We don't hear about the next week's, even the team name, until that week. So we're just taking it 1 week at a time, and that's how we've come past the 2 losses in a row and have turned our season around.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's now talk about the game that no one could talk about in this locker room, and you guys weren't talking about it. But the community has been talking about it for about 2 or 3 weeks, and that is, it's week 10, it's Troy game, it's the game. Obviously, probably a different standpoint from you. A little disappointed you're not going to be involved, but again, you'll be as involved as you possibly can be in those guys' ears, encouraging them on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm real excited. Playing or not, it's just an exciting game, an exciting week. It's just Troy. We just want the win. Got to go in there. Got to go in there like they're the best team out there, and they're going to execute. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to come out. We're going to do our best to come out victorious.
Grunk, what's the Troy game mean to you as a senior? You've had a lot of big games through your career. I would imagine the Troy game's right up there.
Yeah, it is. It's probably at the top. I mean, the last 2 years playing varsity against Troy, I mean, we did beat them by quite a bit, and and this year Troy is actually a really good team, and so are we, so it should be a great game, and everything that's on the line, I wouldn't want it any other way, really.
This game comes in with both teams. They are 8-1, we're 7-2. Both teams are undefeated in the division, so Friday night we play for several things. One, we play for the Battle of the Miami Trophy, which Piqua holds that edge by 1 game, 63-62 and 6 ties. Also playing for the GWalk North Division title. All the marbles Friday night. They are a very good team. Your mindset, and obviously you respect our opponents. This game for you guys, it's your senior year, potential playoff and all those things. But that aside, the Troy game, you're going to see a community, our community's great crowds, good people that are interested in being a part of it beyond just Friday Night Lights. What's it like for you to know that you've got a community with all kinds of outside of what could be distractions, but our activities such as downtown rallies and school rallies and those kind of things? How does that affect you as a senior?
It motivates us, honestly. The way that our community can come together at such a big game, even throughout the entire season they're together, but it just gets greater and bigger during the Troy week. So it's great, and I'm excited.
Should be a great one, and certainly one for the ages. Both teams playing for a lot at the stake, and it's great to hear you guys A, have a respect for the rivalry, and B, both also excited to be a part of it. Let's move ahead. Where we're going to be a year from now. Darren, let's start with you. You've got something on your chest. I think everybody knows you're going to Michigan State. You're going to play in the Big Ten. What an honor it is to play at that level, but play at a program that's been so prestigious as Michigan State. What has it been like for you having that decision off of your back, and now you're able to move forward?
It feels good going into this season. I was just thinking, just know where I'm going and just play ball. So that's what I was doing until I got hurt. But at first it was crazy. It was like a bunch of media, all this, all that, a bunch of hype around it. But then now it's settled down a lot, and now I'm just like, okay, just knowing what I got to do, just thinking what I need to do.
Darren, I'm sure you've got this question. I've got a question a lot from people in the community. As soon as you got hurt, the first question I got was, is Michigan State going to honor that scholarship? Why don't you tell the people in the community what happened the next day as soon as you had gained that information?
The Trotwood game, after it, I texted my recruiter, Coach Barnett, and I told him that I hurt my knee and that I was going to get MRIs the next day. And he said, okay, I'm praying for you. Just let me know what's up. So after I got my MRI, I told him, and he said, okay, give me a call. So I called him, and he was just telling me how they had a guy who tore his, and that he's back now, and he's better than what he was and stuff like that. So it's not anything too serious. And a little bit down the road, they sent me a get well card in the mail, so that was pretty cool.
Good to show you their commitment to you and the kind of a class organization that is at that level. So, what are we going to major in? What's our long-term plans?
I'm not too sure yet. I was thinking about sports management, but I'm not too sure.
We certainly have some time, and we certainly wish you well. I know you'll represent the Indian Nation well up in Big Ten country. So good luck to you, Grunk. For you, what's on the horizon?
Well, I'd like to keep playing football. I'm not ready to stop playing football yet. I like it a lot. But if that doesn't pan out, with or without that, I plan on studying business at a 4-year college.
Great. Are you looking to stay close to home, far away?
Close.
Good. Well, we appreciate you certainly your time here tonight, guys. We certainly wish you well as we roll into Week 10, the Troy game on Friday night, and then what is beyond. And we look forward to the beyond as well. Guys, good luck on Friday, and we certainly wish you well as you guys lead the Indian Nation here on Friday night. Just as a reminder, it is Piqua Troy week on Wednesday night here, downtown Piqua at the gazebo at 8 o'clock will be the downtown rally. Also Friday night, kickoff here at Alexander Stadium for the 132nd meeting between Piqua and Troy. We'll be here at 7 p.m. We look forward to yet another great game. For the Bill Neese's Coaches Show and Coach Neese, Darian Tipps-Clemons, and also Anthony Grunkemeyer, we will see you Friday night. Thank you very much for being with us.